Okay, it started. Okay. You're good.
Hey everybody, it's time for the Tracy Williams Show. Our crack production team came up with this sign. We are every week we're getting more and more stuff for you guys. So today on the Tracy Williams Show we have the one, the only Cody Abshier. Woohoo!
Right.
Yay! And everybody around here knows Cody. He is the superintendent for Liberty Independent School District. But today we're not going to talk about the school. We're going to talk about Cody and about all the crazy stuff he does. I don't know if people know crazy stuff. I didn't know. And so we will just see what we find out today.
All right, this will be fun. It'll be fun.
Yes, yes.
I'm so glad you're doing this, and I've watched the other episodes, and they were great. So I hope this isn't the loser of the bunch.
No, actually, we had somebody specially request you.
Oh, good.
Ricky Benson. After I did his, he was like, "You've got to get Cody. I got to know what is going on down at the lot where we have the plane, and now we have silos. There's a road out here." So that's how this all started.
Right.
So a little background. So you are married, have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
And your daughter. Tell everybody what your daughter does.
Yes, my daughter is in the Air Force, and she is and that's why I'm wearing this cap here. Mm-hmm. She's the goose, I guess you could say, on an F-15, and she is stationed right now in North Carolina. And so every day they're flying, and it's pretty cool, the stuff they're doing. And my son Will is out in San Diego, California, and he's a counselor, and we're very proud of him, and he's doing a great job there, so we're very proud of both of our kids.
Yes, and then your wife, she does the pet grooming, and right?
Yes, Christy, of course, works for the school, but then she also has a mobile grooming van that my brother Scotty helped her put together, and they did a really good job on it, and she stays busy. I'm sure that's where she's at right now. Anytime you see her little Bronco 2 parked up here, that means that she's in the van somewhere grooming, and pretty much at 4 o'clock every afternoon she hits the road, and then on weekends she's just on the road the whole time.
Well, I've seen the pictures, and those dogs are so cute. I mean, she dresses them out, does a little picture, and they look fantastic.
Yeah, she
so,
really enjoys it.
Yeah, so it's great. Okay, so one thing that I learned about Cody this week was that you are into jet skis.
Yes.
Okay, so let's walk over to the jet skis.
Okay.
And we'll start there.
Rick says hi.
Hey, Rick. Is the audio better, Rick? Last week we didn't have very good audio. So,
I love it here.
jet skis, right?
Yes, and these are traditional jet skis. When somebody says jet ski, this is the epitome of the true jet ski, because this is pretty much where the sport originated, with this hull, this style hull. And of course the original jet ski was a 400cc jet ski back in the early 70s, and then they went to a 440, which I believe that's a 440 over there, and then soon after went to a 550, and then a 650, and then a 750, and now some of the stand-ups have 1200cc motors in them, which is crazy. And my brother and my nephew and I, and my daughter and my son have been messing with stand-up jet skis since the early 90s. And both my kids, when they were little bitty, they rode stand-up jet skis, and in fact both of them raced. And my brother and my nephew, we just always worked on them and had a lot of fun with them. And we do race them. We did go weekend before last to Florida to, what is it? I always want to say Panama City Beach, Florida. I always get that wrong. But Panama City Beach, Florida was the first race of the nation in 2020 because of this COVID thing. So the event that we attended weekend before last was the very first jet ski race in North America in the year 2020. That's what they were telling us anyway. And we've raced, like I said, since the early 90s. We've raced in Texas, Oklahoma, Nevada, Louisiana, just all over this region of the country primarily. But it's something that's relatively safe. It's relatively affordable. You get a good bit of exercise. You know, you fall off a lot and have to climb back on it, and it's really just a lot of fun, and that's why we do it.
Wow. So this, I guess your daughter shared something on Facebook about it. So I went on there to try to see you. I couldn't figure out which race or anything, but so they had like the wave runner kind.
Yes.
And then they had this kind.
Yes.
And so is it like a pro-am? Are you a pro?
No, we're amateurs, and we run the vintage class, which is laid back. It's older guys like me.
Right.
And now there's some real young guys that run in the class too, but they just appreciate the old stuff like we do.
Right.
And so the pros are there, and we get to see the professionals from all over the world. Dustin, his last name's hard to pronounce, but Matsouris is the correct pronunciation, I believe. Dustin Matsouris is from South Africa, and he's been racing stand-up since the early 90s and still is. And these guys are really, really fast, but they have tens and sometimes maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in their equipment, whereas maybe we have hundreds of dollars invested in our equipment. So we're laid back, and it's just for fun. So we laugh at one another, and we help one another. Like if someone has a mechanical problem before a race or between heats, you'll see all the guys in our class converge on that one ski, and they're actually helping their competitor get their ski running, so we can get as many skis out there on the line as possible.
That is so cool. So how did you guys do?
This weekend before last, we didn't do so
Maybe I
well.
should ask.
It's okay. We didn't do so well. We got a problem. This is the ski that we're racing right now, and we have lots of other stand-ups and motors, so you can only ride one at a time. So my brother is in the process of building several race skis. He races it's a little bit different style. He rides an X2. It was like the original sit-down. It was where sit-down jet skiing began. And but you don't sit down on it. It's very difficult to ride. In my opinion, it's more difficult than these are. But on this particular ski that I'm running right now, I was having some fuel problems, and so coming off the line, at some races, like last year, we were at some races where you do a rolling start, where you get everybody side by side, and you roll down the front straightaway even, and then they blow the whistle and give you the green flag, and you take off. And that was great. But on this past weekend, we had a more traditional start where you just start from the bank with this. They take the surgical tubing and it's stretched across there, and so you take off from a dead stop. And this particular ski is having some fuel issues, so every time I would grab the throttle, the engine would die. So then I would be restarting the engine while my competitors were taking off. But we did pretty decent in catching up and getting in the mix. I think the best we did in the 3 heats we ran this past weekend. I think we were very close to second place right there at the end of the race. So we had a third place, but that was as good as it got this weekend. But it's all for fun. And then we get to tease one another after the race about how bad we all are and how out of shape we all are.
That's okay. So you haven't had any injuries or anything? Have you had injuries from this?
No, I've never been injured, and thank the good Lord, we've been messing with jet skis for close to 30 years now, and we've never had any of our crew injured because we practice safety first. We try to stay way away from one another. Now on these skis here, they're small enough, light enough, and slow enough to where if you get hit, if you can control them, and if you were to get hit by one, we wear helmets and all that stuff, and obviously life jackets, so you'd probably be fine. The bigger sit-downs, they can be extremely dangerous. They're much more powerful, they're much heavier, and you have to really be careful on those.
All right. Well, okay, so that's one side. The other side is you do a lot of mechanical stuff.
Well, we tinker with a lot of stuff. Now, my little brother Scotty, he is a true mechanic, and he has a machine shop out in Raywood. And if it's something really serious, I'm always calling him. And he can fix anything. And he was that way from the time he was still bitty. But we've always ridden motorcycles and stuff, both of us, and even my sister when we were, when she was little. My first motorcycle was actually a mini bike that she gave me, just out of the goodness of her heart. It was her mini bike, And so we've always messed with stuff like that, go-karts, you name it, whatever, dirt bikes, a lot of dirt bikes and stuff like that. And we enjoy working on them. And of course, I know we said we weren't going to talk about school. But the tool school thing is really our passion. After school in the afternoons, on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons, and then, for instance, in the middle of July coming up, we have a 2-week tool school camp, and we really enjoy. Before kids, when kids are at the intermediate age, before they go off to middle school and get so involved in sports and all that stuff, there's this time when they're capable of doing a lot, but there's not necessarily a whole lot for them to do as far as organized stuff, dealing with the school and stuff. So we work with them and try to teach them the safe use of tools, and they tinker on things, and we build things, and we really enjoy that. So yes, my dad was a mechanic by trade. He was a certified Volkswagen mechanic. And so that's why my brother, my sister, and I are, and all of our extended families, my 2 children, my son has a classic Volkswagen out in San Diego, and he probably works on it. He drives it daily. It's a daily driver, mint condition. and he probably works on it almost as much as he drives it.
Yeah.
My daughter has a 550, a race ski just like this out in
Right.
North Carolina. She has a Volkswagen Thing, if you know what that is, and
Yes.
so she has to work on it as much as she operates it. And so we just enjoy tinkering with old stuff, and we have a passion for Volkswagens because that's how our father made his living for most of his adult life until he kind of decided to do the cow deal. He retired from the car business
Right.
and did the cow thing, but he would always, when we were little, he would bring home real fast Volkswagen dune buggies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I can remember he would call my mom and say, hey, bring Cody up to the shop, and she'd bring me up there, and there's this gorgeous Yazoo go-kart waiting for me that he had bought me.
Wow.
And of course the same with my sister and my brother. He did this for all of us, but just such fond memories. We every Friday and Saturday night we were at the dirt track because my father raced.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where all that comes from.
So you got the mechanical and the racing from him.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
cool. That's
yes.
cool. Okay, so we are here on Main Street, and you bought this lot, and you've done a lot of improvement to it. I mean, this beautiful fence that you put up. I mean, you've done a lot, and I've seen you over here because I work right down the road, and he's always out here working. And so people are always asking me, what the heck is going on that lot, right? Okay, so I knew we were talking about the plane, but now we've got these silos.
Yeah.
What's the tell us about that?
Okay, on the silos, I called Mr. Sashery here a while back and asked him if they might be interested in selling these. Of course, you have Sashery Feed. They're here in Liberty and in Dayton. Long-standing businesses, really good people.
Yes.
And so it was pretty funny because I actually went over to his store in Dayton, and so he said, tell me your plan on how you're going to extract them.
Sure.
And he kind of caught me off guard when he said that, because I was thinking about how to do it without damaging them, but I didn't expect him to ask me that. I just expected him to say, yes, I'll sell them, or no, I won't, and here's how
just show
much,
up and do it.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So instead of telling him kind of what I was thinking right then, I thought I might need to process my thoughts a little bit more. So a couple weeks later, I called and told him my plan for getting them out of there. And really, he was very nice, as they always are. And I got them for a reasonable price. It was probably good for them, hopefully, to get them out of the way, and good for me because I love old stuff.
Right.
And you can go to Google Images, for instance, and look at all the cool ideas of what people do with these silos.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ideas that I might do is I've seen people leave the bottom ring of 10, so that would be about the bottom 3 feet.
Right.
Of course, first you got to get inside and put your timbers in.
Yeah.
And by the way, we are going to secure these to the ground very firmly. You can imagine over the years the bolts had rusted, and so when I blew the bolts off with a torch, there wasn't a whole lot to blow off. So, I don't think there's ever been a problem, high winds and everything. They were so close up against the feed store, they were probably fine. But exposed like this, I'm going to have to really spend a lot of effort in getting them married to the ground real well, so there's never a problem.
Right.
But so, one of the ideas that I've seen on the internet that I might follow is you go around, say, every 6 or 8 feet with big tall timbers, like you see some of them are in there already, and you bolt them in there real good and tight. And then, like, you can leave the first ring of 10. This is just one idea. There's probably hundreds of ideas. And then maybe remove the next 4 rings of 10, which gives you about 8 foot of open space. So now you're looking at these timbers. It's all still connected together. You can still tell it's a silo because you have the upper, and now you can build a deck in there, or pour cement, which I will probably use wood because I want to be able to move things around because I'm not really sure what I'm doing up here. And you don't want to get committed with concrete right now. But so we've got a 3rd silo we've got to pick up probably this weekend. And Grant Brady, if you know Grant, he helped me get these two. And it was pretty funny because that was the first time he'd ever worked for me. And he did a great job. But anyway, the kids, a lot of these kids at the high school helped me out. There's about 5 of them if I include Grant. I can call them and they'll say, no, Dr. Abshier, I'm busy, I can't work today, or sure. And they can be up here and they do such a good job. It's such a big help.
And it's good for them
It's
to
good
learn.
for them to learn, and it helps motivate me to get things done. But so anyway, we got the 3rd silo we got to go get. And it's a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger around, but it's shorter. And so I think that we can arrange the 3 of them together in a way. I've got a few ideas. As a matter of fact, a gentleman by the name of Scott, he makes some really cool stuff, and he sells it right across the street at George's Treasures. In the front, right when you go in the front door to the left, I don't know Scott's last name, but he's so talented. He builds all this really cool stuff out of antique stuff.
Yeah.
So just before y'all got here, he was here asking me about the silos and asking me about some stuff. And he had an idea for how to arrange these. I was thinking maybe the big one would be kind of out front, closer to main, not real close, just about 30 feet from where we're standing. And then the other two would be back like this. And he thought that it would be a lot more inviting, you know, if you reversed it, had the bigger one set back a little bit, and the other two like this, because it would have the effect of funneling people in, if that's one of the main interests. To see just people come by, and they have all these great ideas, and so often people come by, just moving on to that airplane, if you want to move on to it.
Let's move over to the airplane.
And maybe, should we talk while we're heading over there?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's been amazing how many people stop, especially elderly people, but young people too. But so many retired Air Force people and military people have stopped to tell me about their experiences in the military and with these airplanes. And this is a 1946 Beechcraft is what this is. And they started making these planes in 1937. You can see it doesn't have the motors on it, okay? And there's a story that goes with that. And maybe we can ease around here. Well, come around this side where we can see where we've been polishing on it.
Okay.
So,
This side, right?
yeah. So, this plane was built in 46, but they started making these in 37. And let's see, this plane was, according to the tag, now we'll have to be kind of creative. We're still having to move some sand in here and some material to build this up. But
You might go up like
here,
that.
you can kind of see where we've
Can't
been
hear him
polishing
at all.
on it.
I have to get closer.
Okay, hold on. She can't hear you yet. She got to get close.
I gotta get closer to you.
Okay. So,
All right, now we can look.
now this is really cool because I don't want to say anything inaccurate on the Tracy Williams show,
I know,
because
that would be bad.
her ratings could just plummet, you know, if I were to give disinformation. But my understanding is that this clay and these cloth wheels that you use to polish this aluminum is a relatively new technology that was developed in Japan. I think the car industry owned the rights to it. And from what I read, we really didn't have this available to us until sometime in the 90s. Of course, I wasn't aware of it until recently. Watched the guy on YouTube who polishes these big aluminum 18-wheelers.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's really cool because it's all color-coded. Like you've got 3 different colors of polishing wheels.
Yeah.
You have 3 different colors of clay. Each color goes with the polishing wheel, and it's a step, you know, 3-step process. So anyway, I got started on it, and I got kind of lazy on it. So I need to get going again.
It looks really good what you've done.
Thank you very much. And now there is a story, and I actually, okay, so you can go to the internet and you can type in United States V period as in versus Vickers, V-I-C-A-R-S, and there'll be like a 4 or 5 page court document will come up, and basically. And I took notes on this to try to remember the story because it's kind of a long story.
Yeah.
And I get confused on exactly how it went. But here's how it went. It's roughly.
Okay.
There was this dude in Fort Worth who owned some airplanes. Okay. And he wanted to trade, and it wasn't that airplane. He didn't own that airplane,
Right.
but he owned one very similar to it. So he wanted to trade his for this one.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
So he worked to deal with these people in Detroit. And so the problem was he hid the fact that there were liens against his plane, and that it had mechanical issues, so he couldn't get it approved by the FAA, which is normal. I mean, people who own airplanes go through this, and they have to correct the problem, and then the FAA okays it. But apparently it was some high-dollar stuff that had to be fixed, so he hid all that. So at some point, this came out, and the airplane that he owned got grounded.
Yeah.
So this will be roughly accurate. You'll have to, if you get a chance, go look at the court document.
Okay.
But basically, he ended up stealing this airplane, bringing it down to Palacios, Texas, and stripping the motors and everything off of it. In the meantime, his plane got repossessed by the bank. So the people in Detroit, they had nothing. They had zero.
Oh, no.
And they had been trying to get out of the deal.
Yeah.
This lady that was running this company, she was the manager at this company up there. This was in the 70s, by the way, after this plane had served as an Air Force plane and then as an Army plane. And so here's a line. This is pretty good. This is what he told this lady. He must have been a real character, because he said to her, he said, "Lady," I don't remember her name, he said, "Lady, when I get through with you, you're gonna feel like you've had 30 years of college," whatever that means. She was telling him, "I want out of the deal, we want no part of this deal." And he was saying, "No, it's too late, we're already in this together." And he said, "When I get through with you, you're gonna feel like you've had 30 years of college." which I've never heard.
I guess that means he's going to school her or something.
He was going to school her. I don't know, you know. But anyway, I've looked for, tried to look this guy up, Vickers, V-I-C-A-R-S, tried to look him up because I thought, man, I'd like to see a picture of this guy, see if he did other shady things or what. And but anyway, I haven't been able to find anything. Okay, so the people who own H&H, I guess lawnmowers, or I don't know what it is, but it's down on 146, like if you go to Baytown and you're going south, kind of, you know what I'm saying? And they're right there on the right. And the gentleman, his name is Chris, that I believe owns that company, and it's his family business. And he had it on Craigslist, and I saw it, and I thought, man, I would love to have that thing and turn it into like a clubhouse, which is what we're going to do. You know, a lot of them, well, I don't know about a lot of them, but some of them are up on pontoons. So I'm thinking if I could build some fake pontoons, because anything I build is not going to float very long. It wouldn't be for real. But if I could build them to look real and get that thing up another 4, 5, 6 feet up in the air, then we could have the kids zip line out the side of it.
Oh my God.
And then if they fall, it's not going to hurt them because they're only like 3 feet off. You know, they're holding on and they're only like 3 feet off the ground. So nobody gets hurt, but it's fun. Because that's what we did when we were kids. We would climb the tallest tree we could find, and we'd tie a cable to it, and we did the same thing for our children when they were little. And you know, we just want to provide as many, or I want to provide as many experiences that bring back fond memories for me from my childhood. And so we don't really know what our plan is up here exactly, but if the good Lord's willing, it'll eventually be something where there are some physical activities, some fun things, safe physical activities for kids to come and do. And we'll even be up here. We've already come through this summer. We hiked from the administration building, about 30 of us did the other day, and these are 10-year-olds. It was hot. And we hiked from the administration building over to Liberty Middle School because there was this huge crane. I don't know if I told you about this.
I've heard about it, but I didn't see it.
So, and this was not my idea. It was the people who are helping the school, are helping us install more efficient air conditioners and lighting. We've got some wore-out equipment that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you've got to get creative on how to replace all that stuff without breaking the bank. So anyway, these people had the idea of inviting our tool school kids up to spend the day with this crane, which is the biggest. I wish I could remember the model number, but it's Grove, G-R-O-V-E. You've seen that on the side of these big cranes that they drive down the road, and they always have all these police escorts and everything. But anyway, the boom, the stick on that crane, 400 feet. That's what they needed to set those units down on the roof of the school. So listen to this. We hike over there. They've got tables set up for us in the shade. They have a toy crane that's identical to the real crane that's there. Now, Rhonda Smith will tell you, she's the principal at campus, that before we got there were 5 18-wheelers there putting counterweights on this crane. So it took 5 18-wheelers, and I wish I could remember all the weights that were involved, but it was like crazy amount of tons, you know. And so, and there's a lesson in leverage there, and we're going to follow up with that some more in our tool school camp. But it'll be a lot of the same kids will be there. So anyway, they got to see the lift. They got to see the gentleman, Jeff Morgan, showing them how it worked with the toy. They were right there beside the crane. Then, one at a time, they got to climb up in the crane, sit in the seat, and the key was in the ignition. That made me nervous. And so then we got them down. Then they went and climbed up on top of the school, if you can imagine. So usually we do bad things to kids who get on top of the school, but on this day, we brought them up on top of the school so they could see where these units were installed. And then after all of that, of course, they fed our kids hot dogs during all of that. They cooked them right there on the spot and fed them. And then we hiked back. So these are the kinds of things that we want to do with kids. And on that particular day, we stopped here on the way over because it was roughly a midway point, and let them, I'm going to show you something in a minute. But we let them rest under the shade, and we let them hydrate and everything. And then I've got an old Harley Davidson golf cart over there that we put just like a Briggs and Stratton motor in. And so I was riding shotgun with them, so I didn't just turn loose on them. But one at a time, they each got to operate that around the property, and they had a lot of fun with that.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go see some.
Okay. Maybe we'll go check out the golf cart. By the way, if he hasn't fallen asleep yet, Ricky, thanks a lot for volunteering me for this. And I enjoyed watching your interview, Ricky. And of course, Ricky is a great Rotarian and a great friend to all of us. Okay. All right, so we'll check this out. This is a rickshaw. Some people, a more modern term is probably pedicab, but it's a rickshaw. And as you probably know, there are a lot of these used overseas. And this one came from overseas. I don't really know. I would say India, maybe, or Pakistan, but I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I need to do more research on it. I'll tell you what I did, though. I bought a book this thick that a graduate student or a doctoral student, whatever, wrote this book on nothing but rickshaws and how they affect the economy. And the different chapters of the book talk about just the different aspects of it. Like one chapter might talk solely about the operators of them and how they make their living doing that. You know, you may know that there's often a little boy that, or maybe a little girl, but from what I read, it was a little boy would run along behind these, because when they get to a bridge or something, there's no way that a man is going to be able to pedal two people up that hill. It's hard enough to pedal just yourself. Yeah. So the little boy would start to push them, and that is his job. Actually, these still exist by the thousands over there. Now I will say that according to I believe it was in this particular book I was reading, some of the government leaders over there, they don't really like these anymore, and they want to do everything they can to discourage it, because they feel like it makes them look third world or whatever.
Right.
When in fact it's a very efficient form of transportation.
Yes.
No pollution to speak of.
And
Takes
you
up
got
very
two
little
people
space.
employed.
Got two people employed, so it's kind of a controversial thing,
Yeah.
but it's something worth reading about. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that I've already read this whole big old book, but I've read parts of it, and it's very interesting. So that was, I bought that in New Waverly, Texas. There's an antique store you may be familiar with right there at the where all these roads tie together.
Yeah.
And I bought that there, and the ladies there that run that store are super cool, super nice, and I got that at a real good price.
Is this the one you want to buy?
Yes. And now this is probably the more futuristic version of the rickshaw. It's what do they call these? Surreys.
That's what I was.
A lot of people call these Surreys, and this is built in Texas City, Texas, by the International Surrey Company. I was quite surprised when International Surrey Company. Where's that at? I need to Google it. I need to talk to them. It's in Texas City, Texas. That was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
This, as you can see, needs, just like everything else I own, needs a little work.
Yeah.
Because when that does that, that's not good.
Yeah.
When you look at the front,
that
should be moving the front wheels.
You better get the tool schools on.
Yes. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. We were going to a school meeting not too long ago. Dustin McGee, Margaret Gardzina, and I were going down to City Hall to meet with Tom Warner and a lot of the other city and county people about all this COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So when we got to our first turn, we had a pretty good head of steam, and I went to turning, and we just went straight and plowed right into the curb. So that was not really good. Nobody got hurt, but so anyway, we got to work on that. Everything we got is broke.
This would be great for the parades that we do. Put this in the TVE parade. Put some people in there. Put
Absolutely.
kids in there. I don't know.
I think most people in Galveston, when they rent these things, literally like 3 minutes after they're on them, they're thinking, my goodness, what have we done? Why did we rent this? Because these things will kill you. I mean, they will make you have some serious leg burn. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. Kids love to ride on these.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kids love anything with a steering wheel, because they have had
They're
very
in control.
limited experiences in getting to do that, and we forget that sometimes. And there's another phenomenon that probably there's some kind of highfalutin term for this, but I've really thought about this a lot lately, especially working with kids after school, and we do all this kind of stuff with all this mechanical stuff. You can have a $250 million jet airplane sitting right here, and maybe there's a $250 go-kart over here. And you try to show these kids this $250 million airplane, and all they want to do is look at the $250 go-kart, because that's on their level, and they can understand that. And so I try to always remind myself of that, because a lot of the things we do, some of it, they're 10-year-olds, and they can. That was censorship. Sounds like censorship, but we're not cursing, I promise you.
There's just a lady honking a horn.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Never a dull moment.
Then we've got.
Okay. This, I tried.
Okay.
I have tried to send photographs of this to the Maritime Museum in Houston to see if they can help me know about what year this was built and maybe what it was used for. And if anybody watching this, Ricky, maybe just like you and maybe Angie or something watching it, but If anybody knows anything about a boat this style and could tell us anything, I would love for you to contact me and let me know. But we sent images to the Maritime Museum, and we're gonna follow up and see if they can tell me. But you know, I gave little or nothing. It was basically in the weeds, and it's quite heavy. It's a lot heavier than it looks. And now the motor, I bought the motor somewhere up way north of here, and just put the motor in there. Actually, that was my brother's suggestion. He said, man, because it had a motor in it, you can obviously see it's got a prop shaft and a prop and everything. And so my brother said, hey, you need to put a motor in that thing. And so I found an old Briggs & Stratton style motor. That's probably not exactly what was in it, but you know, it kind of gives the effect. And you know, there's a lot of different things you could do with something like this, but I just like having old stuff like this around.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you got your Airstream. Well, is this really an Airstream? Or?
This is, well, it's kind of a knockoff, I guess. This is my wife's. This is Navion, and it's probably about a 67 model. I did look it up, but I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But I did call the vintage RV people, and I said, hey, look, I got a 67 Avion. Will it polish out to that mirror finish? And they said, well, to be honest with you, sir, they did a little research. They put me on hold. Then they got back on the line, and they said, to be honest with you, that has they have anodized the aluminum on that, which I think anodization, if that's even a term, was a step forward in technology to make aluminum, I guess, last longer or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. So anyway, I hit this, believe it or not, right here with that buffing wheel I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And that may be about as good as it's going to get on this
Right.
aluminum because it's anodized. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to bring this trailer back to a mirror finish, but it's okay because everything's unique.
Yeah.
You know, I used to think along the lines of, you know, I hate that particular muscle car from Simmons. It's real ugly. I don't like it. Like a Mustang 2, for instance.
Right.
It's like, I don't really like Mustang 2s. But now that I've gotten older, it's like you just have to appreciate everything for what it is because it's unique.
Right.
And so, like, even though this won't come to a mirror finish, I love it because my wife and I found it, and we bought it from a friend of ours, actually, over in Beaumont, and she's real cool. So, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What else?
All right.
The
Yes, this is the golf cart that the kids got to drive the other day. And I'll tell you how we started thinking about these again. Because we were out visiting my son in San Diego, and we were staying at this kind of low-end type hotel at Dog Beach, at Ocean Beach, right outside of San Diego, or maybe it's part of San Diego. Anyway, so these dudes pull up. They're the yard crew, and they're piled into one of these. And it did have the little roof on it, you know, with the little fringes around or whatever.
Right.
And they've got all their rakes and their yard stuff.
Yeah.
And so they've got, you know, long hair and everything, real cool looking dudes. So I told my brother and them, I said, man, I got to have one of them, man. And so we found one. And so this is actually a Harley Davidson. I don't know if you can get a shot of that, but I had forgotten, or maybe I never even knew that Harley Davidson made these.
Wow.
And they made
I didn't know that.
a gazillion of them. Of course,
this is very cool.
we added that light. That light is probably off of an old car from,
I like that.
I guess, maybe the 30s or
That
something.
makes it more cool.
Yeah, and so since we never can afford to go back to something the way we should, we just ordered a motor off of the internet, you know. Let's see here. And so, very dependable.
Yeah.
And, not especially fast, but gets the job done. Now it probably won't die. It'll probably sit here. The battery's down on it, so the key doesn't work. So now, live TV. Die. Okay, so anyway, it's a lot of fun to ride around on. Oh yeah. So how are we doing on time?
We're good.
All right. So, like I said, Tracy was asking what we're going to do up here, and we don't really have a master plan, but it's been a whole lot of fun, and people stop and visit with us all the time. And eventually my wife and I would like to do something kid related, but we just don't know exactly what, you know.
Yeah.
This sailboat was a free boat, and I think it's a hurricane boat. And the gentleman that I got it from, he told me he had the title, and but he's been unable to find it. So I may have to do some work on getting the title for it. But I think it'll be good to show kids. I just got off the phone with Randy Gunner a little while ago, a friend of ours that we all know, and Randy just bought a really nice sailboat. He's got it out in the hill country at Canyon Lake, and so he's really enjoying his sailboat. And we've owned some sailboats, my brother and I have, and we've really enjoyed them. This one, I don't really know if I'll ever sail it. probably will, but for sure we're going to show the kids. We'll get the mast up on it. We'll get it away from the highline wires to make sure that, you know, we don't have that danger going on. But we'll be able to show kids how to raise the sails and the different parts of the boat, and we'll turn it into part of one of our camps. You know, it could be like a 2-hour activity.
Like all the knots that you would have to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm not good at knots. When I was in Boy Scouts, I wasn't an especially strong swimmer. I mean, I could make it to the bank without drowning, but I was not an especially strong swimmer, and I was not especially strong at tying knots.
Yeah.
In fact, I failed the knot tying class.
Right.
So, you know,
So we'll have to get somebody else to do
we'll get
that
somebody else to come show them the good knots. I can tie a knot, but it's a hatchet knot. And then these are interesting, these 4-wheeled horse trailers.
Oh, those are so cute.
Now, you don't see many of those. And one of those I actually bought here in Liberty. It was in the weeds down here on Beaumont near Bill Bracken Chrysler. And so bought that. Usually when we buy stuff, we buy it on time. Like we'll give a dude a $100 deal and we'll bring him $100 every month for a couple of months till we get it paid for. That's the only way we're able to buy anything.
Well, don't you have donkeys or something?
We have many donkeys that are out at my mom's ranch in Raywood. Okay. And eventually I'd like to go ahead and maybe build a fence across the front and maybe have a cattle guard. And that way sometimes we could bring the donkeys into town and let them hang out for a little while and everything, because they love people. And they've never threatened to kick a child or anybody. Now they'll kick at a dog if they're not familiar with the dog, but that's what they're supposed to do. That's why people have them, to protect their livestock from coyotes. Oh, and there is one other contraption that we can show you real quick.
Yeah, what is this?
Yes, it is a form of ultralight. Okay, so that is what you call a gyrocopter, and that is like the original design. And I'm trying to remember what this guy's name was that invented these. Well, he didn't invent them, because I mean Leonardo da Vinci and people like that actually drew diagrams of them. So, but the American that really developed these to where people flew them, I guess back in the 60s. Benson. I think his last name was Benson. Well, anyway, this is a very dangerous aircraft, as anybody could tell. I do have all the stuff. I've got a Subaru engine for it. We just haven't put it on yet, obviously. I have the rotors for it, which is, I bought this for little or nothing. But the rotors that come with that are composite rotors that they don't make anymore, and they're worth probably about $3,500, just the rotors. And so I've got them in safe storage, and we'll eventually start putting the components on it. You can see I've acquired a joystick for it. The motor mount apparatus is there. I've got to hook some linkage up on it. I've taken the wheels off of it, but I do have wheels. I bought them at Tractor Supply. That ought to be good, right?
Yeah.
Get your wheels for your airplane at Tractor Supply. That ought to work. But so anyway, I mean, I had a young man who flies an ultralight the other day, weekend before last. He was racing jet skis with us in Florida, and he was flying this thing around. This was the day before we started racing, and he was way up there. You could barely see him. And this guy's probably about 30 years old. And he was doing all these flips and all these loops, and everybody on the beach was watching this kid. So the next day, I was introduced to him. We were in the water fixing to do a race, and I said, "That was you up there yesterday flying?" He said, "Yeah, that was me." And I said, "Hey," so we talked for a minute. So I said, "Hey, by the way, I have a gyrocopter." And I told him, I said, "I have a gyrocopter." He said, "Do not fly it, you will die." So, I mean, he said, "Is it one of the old kind?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Please do not get on that thing." He said, "Have you ever noticed that the old men who used to fly those," he said, "have you ever noticed none of them are still around?" But there are a bunch of older ex-military guys that have a gyrocopter club down at Anahuac Airport. And every Saturday, if you ever want to go visit them, every Saturday they're there all day long, and their gyrocopters are high dollar. I mean, they cost as much as maybe like $100,000 or $125,000, and they fly them all over the place. They fly them every weekend. Like I said, these guys are ex-military, and they know what they're doing, and they're real meticulous. They have two hangars. You know, it looks like big sheds to me, but I think the appropriate term is hangars, and that's all they do. So anyway, I've enjoyed going down there, and they told me they did not discourage me from completing this and finishing putting it together, but you know, they've told me a lot of things I would have to do to make it safe. So I'm not sure I'm ever going to want to actually leave the earth on that thing, but we'll piddle with it.
Maybe just a thing to look at and fix.
Yeah, just piddle with it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Okay, producer, what have I forgotten anything? No. Okay. One more thing. We see you biking all over the place, so you do that too, right?
Yes, we have a neat little biking community here in Liberty.
Yes.
Now, I will admit to something. I think Bruce Wright asked me the other day, he said something about we might have to go take a course. That might be Bruce going right there in his little Kia. But I think Bruce asked me the other day, said we might have to take a course on how to ride bikes. Because during this COVID thing, we were riding for a while. And Tom Lyles and all these guys ride every Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning. We meet at the stadium. We ride up to Hardin Grocery, which is such a wonderful store, eat barbecue or whatever, not necessarily barbecue, but breakfast stuff, and then we come back. And then we go on a lot of organized rides too. We do the MS-150 and all this kind of stuff. But as of late, it's just been so weird that I got to the point after the second or third time I showed up and there really wasn't anybody there. I said, well, I guess we're just going to have to cool it on this Saturday morning bike ride for a while. And so I don't know where we're at on that, but we'll get it going again. But there's a lot of people, including your husband, who have ridden bikes for years and enjoy it. And once we get through this COVID deal, we'll get that back up and going again. One of the things that our tool school kids do is they go to Liberty Jubilee and we sell bicycles that people have donated to us. We fix bicycles and fix flats on the spot. And then we'll take bikes that people donate and we'll fix the flats. Oftentimes when people bring you a bicycle that they're not using anymore, it's on 2 flats and the cables, the shifting cables and or the brake cables need to be lubricated or jerked off the bicycle or whatever. And usually it's not much more than that. So the kids have a lot of fun doing that.
Okay, so I've got the bike that I need to donate to. Now, when you say that, so how does somebody donate a bicycle to your tool school?
I'm so glad you asked, Tracy. If somebody wants to donate a bicycle so that it's not for personal use, it's for these tool school kids, they can drop them by my office, which is up near the stadium, the Liberty ISD administration building, and people do it all the time.
Okay, good.
Anybody who works in that building will tell you, more often than not, when you walk by my office, there's 1 or 2 kids' bikes in there, and that's just because I need somewhere to roll them until the end of the day, and then we move them out to another building.
Okay, good.
So that would be a great thing if we could get some more people to donate some more bikes.
Okay, great. All right. Well, this has been really, really good.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate you coming on the 5th episode.
Is this the 5th
This
episode?
is the 5th episode of the Tracy Williams Show.
Okay.
And it's been a lot of fun. And everybody out there, if you can think of more people in the community or anywhere that you'd like to hear from, put it in the comments and we'll try to get that interview.